What's going on, y'all? Peter Griffin here. So we finally have information on the new endgame mode coming to Wuthering Waves. And in all honesty, this information that Crow Games has given us is pretty crazy in my opinion, and I really just can't wait for this endgame mode to drop because, let's be real, the endgame is starting to get a little bit stale. Like, yes, the TOA is still fun and all, but that's not to say for Whimpering Waste. Because, let's be real, Whimpering Waste is straight up garbage. And I'm honestly at the point where if Kuro said they wanted to remove Whimpering Waste, I'd be 100% behind it. I think they should either A, remove the mode, or B, severely rework it because this mode is just so bad, man. It's honestly kind of laughable how bad it is. But anyway, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be going over all the new information that was given to us about the new endgame mode, Double Pawns Matrix, and I'm going to be describing how the endgame mode is going to work. So without a doubt, let's get into it. So the first thing that I'm going to be going over are the rewards because the rewards that they have lined up for this endgame mode are actually pretty insane if you ask me. By completing the endgame mode, you get 400 Astrolite, data modifiers, character level up materials, morphable echoes, echo, weapon, and character XP with data tuners as well, which is just insane to me in my opinion. And just off these rewards alone, there's already a reason as to why you should play this endgame mode more over than Whimpering Waste, which is just funny in my opinion. And I think the best part about these rewards are the data modifiers because the fact that we have a consistent way to actually get data modifiers now is going to be amazing because as of right now, the only way you can really get data modifiers are by buying the battle pass and completing the events, which aren't bad, but I do think there needs to be more ways to get data modifiers. So I think that the fact that this new endgame mode is adding a way to get data modifiers much more consistently is amazing in my opinion. Now let's talk about how the game mode is going to work. And the game mode is going to work by having you set up your team, select the right power circuits, and complete multiple high difficulty stages. Double Pawns Matrix Pilot consists of two major zones, Stability Accords and Singularity Expansion. Clear all challenges in the first zone to unlock the next. Completing each stage will earn you points to claim corresponding rewards. So essentially what the game mode is going to be like is you're going to pick whichever team you want to use, select whichever buffs are best for your team, and then there's going to be two zones, and after you beat the first zone, you'll move on to the next zone. Which sounds pretty similar to the TOA if you ask me personally. And the thing that I'm most curious about is that I want to see the buffs that they're going to be giving for the in-game mode because they did say we're going to be able to pick our own buffs for whichever team we're going to use, so I do want to see what the variety of buffs are going to be able to have, like whether it be for the negative status team or just a basic attack team or a resident skill team. I want to see what these buffs are going to be because I do hope there's a lot of them considering the amount of playstyles that are in the game right now for each team, so these buffs, I do want to see what they're going to be like, and I do hope that they're not restrictive, and I hope that they're available to be used by everyone on the team. So for how the fights are going to work is that you will face powerful enemies that appear in sequence. There is no limit to the number of teams you can deploy, and each team consists of 3 resonators. What the previous team has accomplished will be carried over, and the current team will continue the challenge with the damage dealt to the enemies by the previous team remaining effective. Defeating all enemies in a round will open the next round, and there is no limit to the number of rounds. As you advance through the rounds, the enemies you face will have higher HP, but more powerful buffs will be unlocked. After defeating enough rounds of enemies, you can claim the corresponding rewards. So for how the fights are going to play out is that it's essentially just going to be one giant boss rush where you have to fight 4 bosses after another, and it honestly sounds pretty fun in my opinion. And I think this is essentially what Wuthering Waves has needed in an in-game mode, where it's just one giant boss rush and you can just use multiple teams. This is going to be amazing. And the fact that the damage that you do to bosses will carry over is also just a great addition as well, because imagine you're just in the fight and then you die, and then you would have to just do all that damage again. That would suck. Or if you run out of time during the fight and you would have to do all that damage all over again, that would suck. So I think the fact that they're keeping the damage that your previous team has dealt, and then when you use another team, that damage stays on the set boss is amazing, and it just saves a lot more time. So I'm very glad for that feature in this mode. But the only concern that I have is that when they said that as you progress through the bosses, the HP is going to increase. And I'm hoping that it's not going to be like a drastic jump in HP. I'm just hoping it's going to be like a decently small, like a moderate amount to the point where it's not like game breaking, because that would be very annoying and it would just turn to another deadly assault or shield defense. Like, let's be real here. But Kuro has done a very good job at managing the HP inflation in this game. Like the TOA, it's had some noticeable HP inflation, but it's not all that bad in my opinion. But compared to Whimpering Waste, the HP inflation has gone out of hand in that mode, so I do want to keep my eye out for how much the HP inflation is going to go up in this mode. I'm just hoping it's not going to be a drastic amount to the point where I need to pull the new character and then essentially, boom, I beat the endgame mode. If they can make it to where the HP doesn't increase by a drastic amount, it increases by a decent to moderate amount, and it's to a point where all the characters in the game can clear this endgame mode, I think it'll be fine. So The HP inflation, I do want to keep my eye out open for it, but I have faith that Kuro won't mess it up. Well, hopefully. Now, as for the power circuits, we have no idea what they're going to be able to do, but we do know that we're going to be able to pick them before we enter the fight, which that was kind of obvious, so I'm fine with that. But I do wish that we actually had an idea on what the buffs are going to be. That's the only thing that I just kind of wish that we had information on what the buffs are going to do for each character, but other than that, I don't really have a problem with it. Now, this next piece of information that I'm about to give is actually pretty insane, and this is one of the reasons as to why I said this is going to be able to potentially be better than the TOA, and that is we are getting character buffs. Yes, you heard me right. The older characters are actually getting buffs to their kits, and I am so glad for this. Because I have been waiting for Wuthering Waves to implement this feature into their game for a long time. Like, I think the fact that ZZZ and HSR did it before them is honestly pretty crazy, but the fact that Kuro is just now catching up and adding this into the game is so good, man. Like, look at this. So as you can see from the list right here, just about every 1.x character besides Shorekeeper and Camellia are getting buffs, and I think this is a very good addition if you ask me. But the one thing that I'm pretty curious about is that, where are the buffs of Camellia? Because yes, Camellia is still the best 1.x character besides Shorekeeper, but she is starting to fall behind a little bit, so I think the fact that they didn't decide to give Camellia buffs is crazy to me, because I do think that Camellia does need the buffs. She is starting to fall behind, so I would have liked Camellia buffs. And let's be real, Camellia is just also the best character in the game as well. Like, I'm not even talking about in terms of damage, just as a character, she's easily the best character in the game. But a part of me also thinks that these buffs that these characters are receiving in this game mode, I feel like these could potentially become a permanent part of their kit as well. Like, if this game mode does go well, and if these character abilities are good, I could see these becoming potential abilities for characters permanently, and I would be very glad if they become that. So I'm hoping that these abilities eventually they become permanent. So I'm hoping that Kuro does this more with other characters, because I think this is a very good idea to get people to start using the older characters and to make them feel that they didn't waste their time building and summoning for these older characters just so they could get power kept eventually. So I am very glad that Kuro is finally taking this initiative and buffing the older characters, and I am hoping that one day these buffs could become permanent outside of this game mode. And the way how I could see Kuro making these character buffs permanent is by making it similar to Zelda Zone Zero, where you just go into the character's skill tree and you can just toggle the character buffs on or off. It could be like that. And I'm glad that Kuro Games is designed to do this, because the older characters are starting to fall behind and some of them are just flat out unusable at this point. And in all honesty, I think I might go as far as say that this is the best edition of the entire 3.0 update. Well, besides the Sonic collab, obviously, but not including the Sonic collab, I think this might be the best edition of the 3.0 update. And for the last piece of information that we have, we know that the characters are going to be running on the Vigor system similar to the TOA, where once they hit 0 Vigor, you're going to be able to use them and they'll all be starting at 10 Vigor. But the Vigor is calculated separately between the Stability Accords and the Singularity Expansion. So for both zones, the Vigor are separate. They'll both be at 10 for each of those two zones. So I'm glad that they're not going to be shared, because if the Vigor was shared between those two modes, it would have been honestly pretty sufferable to play in, so I'm glad that they're going to be separate. And for the last bit of information that I have are demo resonators. And how the demo resonators are going to work is that they're each set to level 90, equipped with a level 90 weapon and a correct echo set. They inherit their resonance chain from your own resonators as well. You can also use them in combat, but in order to use these set demo resonators, you have to own them. So essentially how these demo resonators are going to work is that if you summon for a new character on banner and you have them at level 1 and they're not fully built, you can still use them, but they're going to just have trial weapons and trial echo sets on them with trial weapons as well. For example, let's say I summon for Lene, but I haven't finished building her yet. Through the demo resonator system, I could still use her, she'll just be on a different echo set and on a different weapon. And let's say the same thing for Mornier. Let's say I summon for her, I haven't finished building her, I could still be able to use her through the demo resonator feature. And in all honesty, I think this feature is pretty good in my opinion, because it definitely does give people an idea on how the characters are going to play for when they do eventually finish building their characters, and how they're not locked out of being the level because they haven't finished building said character. So this feature is going to save a lot of time for people who haven't finished building their characters and they still want to use the new character that they've got, so I think this feature is a very cool feature in my opinion. So overall, I'm very excited for the new endgame mode. I think this honestly has the potential to be better than the TOA, and without a doubt, it's easily better than Whimpering Waste, so I really can't wait for 3.0 to come out just so I can try this mode, because I think this mode's going to be very fun if you ask me. And it's honestly very refreshing to see that we're getting new content for the endgame, because the TOA and Whimpering Waste are just not enough. And I guess Elusive Realm is also just fine, but I still just want to have more endgame modes. I just want to have a more variety. But the highlight of this endgame mode is still the character buffs, because I have been waiting for Kuro to implement character buffs for a long time, and the fact that we're finally getting them is just so amazing. So I'm very glad that we're finally getting these. And I honestly can't wait to try this mode for when it comes out. But what do you guys think of this new endgame mode? Let me know how you feel in the comments below about whether you're excited or if you have any concerns for this new mode. And with that, thank you for watching the video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell for when I do upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one.